Hillary Clinton announced her plans for 2020 today. Don't worry, she's not running. She says she's not running, at least. She says,
God.
I'm not running, but I'm going to keep working on and speaking and standing up for what I believe. Now, you can take that to the bank because never in my experience has anyone lied about what they are running or not running for. No, I'm kidding, but I feel like this is true.
No, she's not running. I mean,
yeah.
It would have been crazy to begin with, but she can't say, it's too late to play games about I'm not running. Just kidding, I am.
After so many people have already announced.
Yeah, and you would have to get your staff ready. She hasn't done any of that.
Yeah.
No, there's no reason not to believe her on this.
Yeah.
So that's great news because look, unfortunately, and this is shocking, and you never see it in Washington, but polling indicates that Hillary Clinton is still more unpopular than Donald Trump, which is, I know, it's
insane.
It's shocking, and she shouldn't be. Trump is a monster, and yes, she played the same old Washington games, but she's not anywhere near that category. And but it is what it is, and so her running again after losing to Trump, which seemed impossible, and being that unpopular still to this day would make no sense. It's the right decision, bless her heart.
Yeah, and I would assume it's, in my experience anyway, it's fairly rare that people go all the way, lose the presidential election, and then run again. People are usually pretty hesitant to support a person again when we've already been through this. Like, there's no reason to believe necessarily they would do better.
Yeah,
it's not unknown, but it's rare.
Yeah, I mean, look, the one thing that she would get to hang her hat on, and it's super fair, is she won the popular vote. So,
yeah, that's true.
Right? And so I would have, if I was Al Gore, I would have run again in 2004 because that was a situation where Bush was very unpopular. Gore had not only won the popular vote, but when they did a recount after the election, because the Supreme Court wouldn't allow it to happen during the election, it turns out Gore had won the Electoral College. So that was your actual president. And so I think he should have run again. But it is a rare situation this day in American politics. In the old days, it used to happen, but what had happened to Adlai Stevenson? I mean, he was the Buffalo Bills of his era, and he kept losing. So it's not like there's a great track record of, it's happened from time to time. Nixon did it, right? So of losing and then running again. But in this day and age, I think it's a terrible idea. And look, I'm trying to give Hillary Clinton credit here, and if she stays active and supports whoever the Democratic nominee would be, that's great. If it's helpful, and so in some ways she can be helpful. If it turns out that the nominee is an establishment candidate, they should be very helpful in raising money and doing those usual rounds. No, I'm serious, and you want it, because then it is what it is. The die is cast. You might as well get big donor money to make sure Trump loses. If the candidate is a progressive like Bernie Sanders, who doesn't need the big donor money and doesn't want it, she could still help in uniting the party, and that would be wonderful, and that's what he did for her. I know her staffers are still bitter over it, but he did 39 different campaign stops for her and rallies for her, and he went all in to the point where his own supporters, some of his supporters were really mad at him for supporting Hillary Clinton so much, but he didn't. She could repay that favor if she was so inclined. So I think it's the right decision by her. And look, guys, her staffers keep picking at Bernie Sanders, and that's our next story. And they keep restarting that fight, and I'm not going to back out of that fight. I'm going to engage in that fight and double down on it. So I give no quarter, right? But if Hillary Clinton is not engaged in that fight, she lost the election, then let her be, right? And so look, I remember election night. The very last video I did, I think, was when I got home and after a very, very long day. And it was about how Hillary Clinton must have felt. And I said, my heart goes out to her. She was gonna be the first female president.
Yeah.
And she won, as it turned out, by about 3 million votes in the popular. If we had any decent democracy, she would have been the president. Now, she didn't win, but as she went into the day thinking she was gonna win, and then for her to lose to Donald Trump of all people.
Yeah.
I mean, just put aside all of his buffoonishness, and no one should ever lose to a reality show clown, et cetera. But the fact that he was so horrible to women, and for him to beat the person who was gonna be the first female president, it had to be soul crushing. So my heart went out to her, and it still goes out to her. If they would just stop picking at the wounds, and I mean, because Bernie's still in the fight, and so they're still trying to hurt him, right? And they're still trying to make sure he doesn't win. And I don't know how much of that to ascribe to Hillary Clinton and how much to bitter staffers, right? But for today, I'm going to ascribe it to the staffers and not Hillary Clinton because we don't have any information that she's directing it. So I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. So since she's not relevant in politics in that sense anymore, give her a break and like leave her be, okay? And thank her for some of the good service she did, because her record was not just bad. No, we didn't like the corporate part of it. We didn't like the big donor. We didn't like the establishment part. But earlier in her career, she fought for women's rights in a wonderful way. Later in her career, she fought for women's rights in some ways that were controversial. She was a Secretary of State that was too hawkish for my taste, but also pushed for human rights in different occasions. So if this is in a sense the conclusion of Hillary Clinton's career, as she announces she will no longer run, then we thank her for her service.
Yeah, and on the eve of the election, I felt the same way because we're progressives and we have empathy for people.
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.